He woke up before the sun. The moment the alarm buzzed at 5:15 a.m., he rolled out of bed and planted his feet on the cold hardwood floor. The chill hissed around his ankles, but he had trained himself to greet discomfort with welcome arms. The past mornings meant hitting snooze, crawling back under the warm covers and starting the day in a rush. But today was different. Today marked the beginning of a new rhythm for him, a deliberate cadence he hoped would transform each day into something better than the last. He padded to the window and pulled aside the curtain. The sky slowly lightened from navy blue to a soft periwinkle, and the first streaks of dawn brushed the horizon. He took a deep breath, letting the promise of a clean slate wash over him. He had read somewhere that true change started in the morning, that small victories before breakfast set the tone for everything that followed. He believed it now. By 5:30, he was dressed in running shorts and an old hoodie. He laced up his shoes, grabbed his phone, and stepped outside. The air tasted of dew and possibility. Neighbors' lawns glistened under streetlights, and the world felt hushed, as if holding its breath in anticipation. He started to jog, slow at first, then settling into a steady pace. His muscles protested at the unfamiliar motion, but with each stride, he felt more alive. At the halfway point, he stopped to stretch and looked back at the path he had covered. In the silence, he whispered an affirmation, "Today I will grow." It sounded almost absurd out loud, but he believed that words had power. He repeated it twice more before turning to jog back toward home. By the time he stepped through his front door, his hoodie was damp with sweat and his heartbeat strong and steady. He rinsed off in the shower, feeling each droplet of water wake up his skin. He dressed in jeans and a simple t-shirt, ready to face the day's challenges. His apartment smelled faintly of coffee. He had set the machine to brew at 6. He poured himself a mug of the rich, dark liquid and took his seat at the small kitchen table. No phone, no social media, just the warmth of the cup in his hands and a few moments of silence. He had started a notebook the week before. In it, he wrote 3 things he was grateful for every morning: a stable job, supportive friends, fresh coffee. Then he wrote 3 goals for the day: call a friend, finish a report at work, cook dinner at home. That simple practice armed him with purpose and kept his mind focused. Before he left the house, he packed a lunch: grilled chicken, brown rice, and broccoli. He refused to let convenience steal his health. On the bus to work, he stood near the doors and watched the city wake up. He greeted the driver with a nod and a soft, "Good morning." He smiled at other riders when their eyes met. He noticed the little things, the soft rumble of the engine, the way the rising sun painted buildings gold, the hum of conversation around him. In the past, he had scrolled mindlessly on his phone, missing all of it. Work was as demanding as ever. Deadlines, looming emails flooding his inbox, but he approached each task with calm focus. He used the Pomodoro technique, 25 minutes of concentrated work, followed by 5-minute breaks to stand, stretch, or look out the window. He passed on the free donuts in the break room and snacked on an apple instead. When stress threatened to overwhelm him, he paused, closed his eyes, and inhaled deeply. At lunchtime, he found a quiet corner in the company courtyard. He pulled out his notebook again and jotted down a quick reflection on what was going well and what wasn't. Then he ate mindfully, savoring each bite. Food was fuel, he reminded himself, not a distraction. After lunch, he went for a 10-minute walk around the block, letting his mind wander and ideas unfurl. In meetings, he listened more than he spoke. He took notes, asked thoughtful questions, and resisted the urge to multitask. By the end of the afternoon, he realized he had contributed more value than he ever had when he tried to do everything at once. He had traded frenetic activity for intentional presence. Back home by 6, he greeted his cat, Milo, who wove between his legs with a soft purr. He set down his bag and put on music, something upbeat but not intrusive. He chopped vegetables and simmered a simple stir-fry. As the aroma filled the kitchen, he felt contentment in the ritual of cooking, the reward for disciplined choices earlier in the day. After dinner, he cleared the dishes and sank into his favorite armchair. No screens tonight. Instead, He reached for a book on personal development he had been reading. He read a chapter, then summarized the key lessons in his notebook. He highlighted techniques he wanted to apply, like active listening and daily reflection. Then he practiced a short meditation, focusing on his breath and letting thoughts drift by without judgment. Before bed, he wrote in his gratitude list again. This time, 3 things that had gone well today: a strong morning run, a productive meeting, a delicious home-cooked meal. He also noted 3 areas for improvement: patience in the afternoon rush, standing up more often, planning tomorrow's dinner earlier. He closed the notebook and set it on his bedside table. He switched off the lights at 10 p.m. His body felt pleasantly tired, his mind calm. As he lay in the darkness, he reflected on the small steps he had taken to make today better than yesterday. He felt hopeful. He drifted off to the steady rhythm of his breathing, eager for dawn's return. Over the next weeks, the routine solidified. The early wake-up remained, even when the weather turned cold and the streetlights faded into winter fog. He adapted: warm layers for the run, a thermos of tea, a headlamp when the nights felt endless. He discovered that discipline thrived on consistency, and small habits compounded into significant change. He tracked his progress in a simple spreadsheet: mood rating each morning, hours of sleep, number of steps taken, pages read in the evening. The bars and charts showed an upward trend. He didn't obsess over perfection, but he delighted in evidence of growth. He shared his journey with friends. When they called or messaged, he listened fully, asked how they were. He organized a weekend hiking trip, inviting a few colleagues he barely knew. They climbed a rocky trail together, laughing, panting, and sharing stories. At the summit, they stretched and watched the sun crest the mountains. He realized connection was as vital as any habit. At work, his performance reviews improved. He met deadlines with room to spare and helped teammates who were struggling. His manager noticed and offered him a leadership role on a new project. He accepted, even though it scared him. Growth demanded stepping outside one's comfort zone. He continued to wake at 5:15 each morning, but he also learned to rest. When his body ached or his mind felt drained, he allowed himself an extra hour of sleep or a slower start. The rigidity he had once craved softened into flexibility. Life's unpredictability no longer felt like a threat, but a dance partner. 6 months had passed since he began. He barely recognized the person he was back then. Mornings had become sacred, anchors in a sea of responsibilities. He carried the lessons of joyful discipline into weekends, planning a new recipe, volunteering at a local shelter, exploring a museum. He found that every day could be better, not by chasing some elusive perfection, but by choosing presence, growth, and kindness. One evening, as he walked home from work, he paused by a small park. He sat on a bench and looked at the pond's rippling water. He closed his eyes and counted his blessings: a life of purpose, friends who cared, a body that could run and climb and dance. He opened his eyes to the setting sun, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange. He smiled, knowing tomorrow would bring fresh challenges and joys. He had learned how to make every day better, by greeting discomfort, practicing gratitude, staying present, and nurturing connections. He rose from the bench, stretched his arms overhead, and continued on his way, ready to write the next chapter of a life transformed.